Good afternoon. Welcome to another episode of Real Talk with Mary Grace. It is Wednesday, the 19th of May, 2021. Hello, everybody. Testing. Say hello as you come in. I don't see anybody in the chat. Oh, there you go. A little bit of a delay. Okay. Welcome, everybody. Hello. Good to see you. Okay. Everybody's coming in on Facebook. So we're live on YouTube and Facebook and Clout Hub and on somewhere on Twitter. Real Mary Grace 1 on Twitter, and somehow it shows up on Periscope. And I'm also on Clout Hub channel 111, and we are coming to you live weekdays, Monday, Wednesday, and Thursday at 5:30 Eastern. So it's good to see you all. Let me just adjust something here. And there we go. Now, share this, copy the link, paste it into groups that you belong to, especially on Telegram and on Facebook. And I'm going to go over some of the requests for my audience once again. One is that if you are on any of my chats on socialist media, that you don't post any links, that if you have something to share, that you write out the .com part. So whatever, .com, put the spaces in. That is helpful because they really don't like links. Somebody was trying to post something yesterday that I gave them, and Facebook outright rejected it because it had a link in it. So you have to get around that, okay? And it would actually, it helps because they just completely sandbox and suppress my my show in the feed, so then other people don't get to see it. So I would appreciate that. Same thing on YouTube. And the other thing is that I announced the other day that we're going to be using some different wording on a couple of individuals. One of them is Real 45, and the other one is Faker 46. So we're doing that because it's pretty obvious that they don't even like to hear the sound of his voice or his name mentioned. And you know who I'm talking about. So we're going to work on those two things for now so that we can get around some of the suppression. So I do appreciate it. Everybody in the chat helping with that. And then, as always, it's very helpful when people in the chat will stay on topic of what we're discussing in that particular moment. Sometimes I open up the chat at the end to just whatever it is that people want to talk about. And if you're new here, I'm Mary Grace. This is Mary Grace Media, and this is Real Talk with Mary Grace. And I'm just talking about current events, politics, news of the day, and those kinds of things. So welcome here. And as I said, please do share it. If you're on Facebook, also please tag your friends, tag family, tag friends that you think would want to take a look at what I have to say. And then on YouTube, what else? Hit the like, hit the thumbs up, hit the subscribe, and then hit the reminder. That's the bell. Make sure you don't miss an episode. Okay, did I leave out any housekeeping? Oh, don't forget that you can get your own delivery of real, living, green, non-GMO superfoods delivered right to your door using my promo code. And you can get that promo code by emailing me, info@marygracemedia.com. And you're going to save over $100 off of your order of superfoods, of your, it's a full month's supply of your transformation pack. So make sure you do that. A lot of people are telling me great things, great news about what's happening in the transformations that they're having. I can't even say enough about it. So, you know, I've got my dad on superfoods. I told you guys a couple weeks ago about the transformation that we've seen just in his brain fog, his memory, his overall conversation and engagement, and the way that he's functioning. And he's in his 80s. So this is a great thing. And and I'm hoping that some of you guys have ordered that product that I've been using for him. So info@marygracemedia.com. Make sure you get a message to me so that you can get your own promo code and get your order of superfoods in. Okay. Now, a lot to discuss today. As usual, the news is nonstop. And one of the things that has come up in the news is Elsa, I guess you missed the part where I talked about how we're using code names. Okay. Um, so can somebody help her? I think she just showed up. All right. We're trying to get around the censorship. Okay. So, that's on Facebook. All right, so here we go. I wanted to talk about something because there's tons of news coming out about these audits that are happening in Arizona, but also that other states are now jumping on board. The Okay, somebody tell Snow Wench on Telegram how to get around the storage issue on Telegram. You don't have to turn the app off. You just have to clear your cache. Okay. Now, back on topic. Uh, there are people that are doing audits, and we just don't want to have those words on at all. So if you could edit, that would be great, Elsa. Okay, back on topic for the third time. Okay. The audits. There's momentum happening. And I know that people get frustrated. I know that people want things to be done yesterday. But what's happening right now with this is so, so important, because what we really, really have to do is we have to get back to real elections. And in my opinion, and a lot of people's opinion, the only way to do that really is to get to actual paper ballots where you're writing, you're checking a box with a pencil or a pen, and it is being counted by a human being and by a team with with auditors who are watching, the counting. And that's the way it's supposed to be. As long as we have machines that are managing elections, that we're never going to have another fair election. I think everybody has that. I knows that by now. But and voter ID. Thank you, Diane. So we're in that phase right now where we're uncovering all of this evidence. And again, even if Real 45 told you that he had all the evidence, it wouldn't be enough, because we know that there's a perpetual witch hunt on to destroy him, and that anything he says, people have gone to peak insanity, even after they put Faker 46 into the White House. They're still obsessed with Real 45. And so, we cannot rely on the deep state and the people that are supposedly delivering the news to be reliable or to have any source of I guess everybody missed my message about what we're doing about the messaging and the wording on my feed so that we can get around the censorship. Can somebody explain to people coming in what we're doing and how we're wording the names of the people so that we can get around the censorship? I'm really trying to get over it. So I see people who keep posting the names in the chat, and I hate to be a stick in the mud, but I'm really trying to get over this because my feed is being so suppressed. And so if you can work with me on this experiment, I'm trying to get around it. And so I'm really asking that you don't use those specific names in the chat. Okay. And those of you who are in the chat, if you see it happen, could you just politely ask people so that I don't have to interrupt and stop what it is that I'm saying? I only announced it the other day. It's not failure. It's just a habit. So, but I do need your help because we just want to get the message out to as many people as possible. So I'm not trying to call out any specific people. I'm not mad at anybody. it's a team effort. And so we're just trying to, yeah, I just need your help to try to do this. And it may or may not work, but I've read in some threads that that is one of the things that people figured out has um hold on guys. I don't something just happened. I'll be right back. Okay. I have no idea what that was. There was a really loud crash, and Barley came running from the other room. Of course, I thought it was something with my dad, who most of you know that I live with him, take care of him. Everything is fine. I have no idea what it was. So that was crazy. I don't know if you heard it. It was, I have no idea. Okay, I'm back. Wow, that was crazy. Okay, so I was just saying we're doing an experiment and we're changing the wording on some things. So I just want to make this a group effort so that everybody can help me and nobody's in trouble. I just need everybody who's in the listening audience to help other people and tell them what's going on so that I don't have to stop in the middle of. Okay, now my phone's ringing. Okay. You can tell when I have a really good message to deliver by the amount of interruptions that happen before I can even get 10 words out. We just had a crash. Now my phone is ringing. Okay, so my intercessors, now it's time for you to pray because the word that I'm going to bring you today is so good. And so, calling again. Okay, I'm going to have to take this. Okay, I'm going to put you on hold again because it's an important call. I apologize, everybody. Okay. Yeah. And the crazy thing is, like, my phone hasn't rang all day. And the number that just called, I just realized what it was. So if they call back, I'm gonna have to take the call. Yeah. Okay. So let's rewind. All right. Now, what was I talking about? I was talking about the audits. I was talking about the election. I was talking about everything that has been going on. And I think that it is it's important. It's beyond important. And one of the things that I think people are missing here is that there are people who are feeling disheartened because they really believed that Real 45 would just sort of wave a magic wand and that everything would be okay. And that, we would sail into 2021 with a victory, which we had a victory. Everybody knows that. Even the people who stole it know that. Um, but but I think that there's all of this sort of backward looking, and it's amazing the things that I see people saying about how he failed, about how he wouldn't be, how he all of his shortcomings, right? They're talking about now, like all of the armchair quarterbacks, the Monday morning quarterbacks are looking at everything that happened and they're saying how they would do it differently. I don't agree with 99% of what they're saying because I know that there's a bigger story that's playing out. And I know that part of the solution, our favorite letter of the alphabet told us it had to be this way. And what does that mean? What is it had to be this way? What it means is that that the people, we the people, have to take back the power. And I'm actually gonna counter the argument that it's been depressing. We are actually in the best time of history since 1776. And why is that? Because we the people are taking back our country, and we're on the verge of we're in a crossroads as a nation, and we either take it back 100% and put and position ourselves in such a way that we position ourselves in such a way that this never happens again, or we just walk away and put our heads in the sand and do what other people are saying, which is just get over it. Get over it. The other guy won and we lost, and you just have to accept it and move on and stop chasing windmills. And that is absolutely not true. And so, we, especially believers and patriots, are being given the opportunity to rise to the occasion and to go where we're called. And that is to bring this nation into not only the next revolution, but the next great awakening. And so this really is the best time to be alive. And God doesn't make mistakes. He didn't make you born into the wrong century or the wrong decade. You're here for a reason. And so, I want people to understand that. And the lens through which you look at the situation is everything. And I know that there's a lot of fog. It's called the fog of war. And depending on how you look at things and what you allow to come into your consciousness and what you agree with, then that determines your assessment of the current state of affairs, whether we have opportunities or whether we have, or whether it's just fatalist giving up. Okay. Now, Millie's asking what she missed. Millie, you missed so much. We had so many interruptions. It was crazy. Okay. So now what I wanted to tell you is that, there's so many things happening, because what's happening with the audits is now that the exposure is happening, it's a domino effect. Okay. There's a domino effect happening. And what this morning's, a lot of times right when I wake up, yeah, Sue, don't let it bring you down. You gotta get past that. You cannot allow other people to determine your outlook on a situation, because then you're giving them control over you. And you have been given the power of love, love, power. What is it? You've been given a sound mind and a position of power. Okay. So what I was going to say is I've got to stop reading the comments. Now, when I wake up, a lot of times that's right when the Lord speaks to me. And so when I woke up this morning, I had the word, I had a picture of the game Jenga. Do you guys know that game? You know the game Jenga? It's that game where you stack up the wooden blocks, and then people take turns pulling pieces out of the game. Okay? You know the game, right? Okay. So what I saw in my spirit, all right, you might have to Google it. All right, Jenga. So it's very interesting because it's sort of like the Tower of Babel, if you think about it. And so I saw this in my spirit. I saw that the left is losing at Jenga. All of the deep state and the cheaters who stole the election are desperate because the Jenga tower is falling down around them. And they're desperately trying to cram up the spaces and get their pieces back into the Jenga game. Okay? That's what's happening. And right? And so it's a really good word picture, isn't it? Because if you watch the way these people are acting in Arizona, you watch the way they're acting in Georgia, you watch the way they're acting in Pennsylvania, they're desperate. And if you've ever played Jenga, that's not how the game works. The way the game works is that you take pieces out. You don't put pieces back in. And even if you try to put pieces back in, it ends up being a disaster because it's almost impossible. I mean, you're trying to cram a piece back into a tower that's on the verge of falling over. And so I think that it's really interesting that God showed me that picture because when people get desperate, they make big mistakes. And I think that if you really take that analogy to another step, another level, then you can see that for every time that they try to, every piece that we pull out in the game, they're trying to cram a piece back in, and they're actually destabilizing their tower even more. Rather than just leave well enough alone and admit that they're losing, they're trying to rig together a whole new scenario, and it's making it worse and worse. It's like they're literally digging their own grave. It's sort of like in the same, like going to the face diapers. When it was announced that people could take them off. Thank you, Centers for Disease Control. I didn't know that. I needed you to tell me that I could breathe fresh air. But anyway, so it was like the people who came out and said, no, I'm going to wear it anyway because I don't want anybody to think that I'm one of them. And so that's kind of where we are. It's like they're self-sabotaging, and they're actually turning on each other and eating their own, and it's all just falling apart. And if you doubt me, I want you to listen to something, because this is what has happened in the last week, I guess. Okay, I may be off by a day or two on any of these things, so I'm just reading you a list. But these are things that have come out in the last week. Okay, so Ellen's show canceling. Can somebody help SoCal Patriot with why we're talking in code about things? I'm not sure they're getting it. There's just things that we're not wanting to put into the chat. that will get the channel either banned or suppressed, and that there's words and letters that we're trying not to use. Okay, so that's on YouTube. Okay, so okay, I'm not trying to be a censor. I'm trying to get my channel uncensored. So I just want to be clear about that. I'm not trying to be a control freak. I'm not trying to tell people what to say. I'm asking people to help me so that we can get this channel out of the sandbox. Okay. That's what I'm asking. So just to be clear, don't get your feelings hurt. Don't get offended because of what I'm asking. All right. Now, here we go. So Bill Mayer canceling, Don Lemon leaving primetime, Chrissy Teigen, her cookware line was was pulled. Chelsea Handler is warning about issues from taking the juice. Eric Clapton had had some serious issues with it, and he wrote about it, and he was really disappointed. Okay. The Centers for Disease Control came out and said no more face diapers. That was after they said that people who took the juice had to wear them anyway, and then they reversed that. I think they were getting, bad numbers. The numbers were coming in badly. Whitmer up in where is she? Which state is she in? The witch, Whitmer the witch. Okay. So if you wrote those things, can you delete it from the chat? Again, I don't want to sound like a control freak, but people actually do watch our chat. They've actually deleted things from our chat before. Okay. That's why I ask you not to post links. All right. So, Faker 46, he said it's either the face diapers or the stick. That's it. That's the only way you can get your freedom back. It's crazy. Okay, we've got audits happening in multiple states now. Georgia, Vernon Jones called for an audit this morning, and let's see, World Economic Forum canceled their meeting. Do you guys think that's a small thing or a big thing? All right, and then what else? And then Dr. Death, also known as Fauci the fraud, he's been called out by Rand Paul and others for actually potentially, which we know to be true, being the cause of the entire pandemic. Okay, so pretty amazing. All right, now, yeah, it's crazy. Okay, so what I'm saying to you is that there are things that are annoying when you look around. I mean, this happens to me all the time. I know of somebody that is in healthcare that it seems to happen a lot to people in healthcare, but I know of somebody that is 100, after over 400 days, still wants people to wear the face diaper if they're in if somebody comes to their house. Or they want to be outside. So that's frustrating. It's annoying. It's like, I got nothing. I don't know what to say. I don't know what to say to people that are that are supposedly knowledgeable about these things, that are still in that place. I don't get it. I don't understand. How are they not getting what's going on? So I get it. It's easy to be really frustrated, but on the other hand, we want to take authority, right? And not give in to the sadness or the depression that could come by what we're watching happen. All right. And, there's something that I wanted to touch on with regard to the face diaper, because this is something that that I've been thinking about, and it just kind of hit me in my spirit this morning. So, did anybody see the video of the little boy that thank you, SoCal, I appreciate it. Um okay, so uh did anybody see the video of the little boy that went before the school board, and he was that he was talking to the school board about the mandates for children at his school. This is in Florida. I think the little boy's name is John, and he was on Tucker's show last night. I want to know who saw that. It was very interesting. The little boy, I think he's 10 years old, and he really laid it out, and he talked about the hypocrisy that his teachers have been practicing. For example, and he was so articulate. He wrote out his statement and he read it in that meeting, and he was talking about the hypocrisy. And there was something that happened in that in his talk that really, really struck me to the core. So that I have a master's in education, that I was a teacher for 12 years, that I taught elementary for part of that time. I also have a master's in reading. I'm a reading specialist. And so one of the things that I specialized in was how kids, not only how they learn to read, but how they learn to talk, and how they learn to read and write. So from a linguistics standpoint. And so that's something that I looked at pretty intensely as a graduate student. And I actually ran a reading clinic, and I taught undergraduate teachers how to teach reading and how to tutor children in reading. So when it comes to reading and language and social development and language development, that is something that I probably know more about than the average citizen. And so that's one of the reasons that I've been so passionate about this, and that I have been so bothered by what I've seen them doing to children, because I understand at, even a scientific level, the complete and utter nonsense of what is going on here. And that it is not only is it not founded in science, but that it goes against everything we know about child development, and that it's child abuse. There's no two ways about it. And so this little boy, he got up there and he explained, and he talked about how the teachers are, doing one thing and telling the kids to do another thing. And I have to tell you, one of the reasons that I left teaching was because I saw where things were going with the bureaucracy and with all of the political correctness. And then also, I was surrounded by people who, for the most part, were not in the profession for the love of the job or the children. And if you're a teacher and you're watching me, you're probably not one of those people. And so please don't take that the wrong way. But I saw a lot of people who were there really just to ride it out and to get their pension, especially the older, the ones who had been there for a while. Okay. And then the other thing that I saw was not well, not a lot of really bright people. And I hate to say that, but it's true. And again, I was working with undergraduates who were getting teaching degrees, and I was teaching them how to teach reading. And so it's a big deal. And so, okay, Julia says, I saw so many teachers who actually seem to despise kids. Yeah, exactly. And there's a lot of fear in teachers because they don't, they're not secure in themselves. And they're not, they're not secure in their own identity. And so they're actually threatened by the kids. And some of them just aren't that bright, and they're really threatened by really bright kids. Like that little boy, John, he would have been one of my favorite students. I loved kids like him. I would have had the best time with him. I would have I would have loved teaching him. And, I actually asked my principals to give me students like that who, sort of confounded other teachers that were a threat to them or whatever. But that's a little aside. Okay. Now let me get back to this. So one of the things that he said that broke my heart, that just cut me to the quick. And that is that he said, I saw my teacher outside of school and she didn't know who I was. She didn't know me. Do you remember that part? It makes me kind of emotional because, the teacher is one of the most fundamental bedrock relationships that a child has. They spend more time in the classroom with their teacher than they spend, in many cases, with their mom or dad. I'm not kidding. You know that if your kids have been in school. They're with their teacher at that age for 7 or 8 hours a day. And if they're in aftercare, it's even longer. And that person is shaping and molding that child's life. And guys, I have parents who actually are in touch with me from when I taught, who tell me what an impact I made on their child's life as a kindergarten teacher. And so it's not a small responsibility. And this is why I'm so upset and infuriated by what's happening in the schools, and that the teachers aren't fighting more for the kids than they are for their pensions and for their union benefits, and that they're not taking the time to educate themselves to understand, so that they can fight for the children. And maybe I'm just different. Maybe I'm one of those people that really believed in fighting for the kids. Maybe I was not your average teacher. I don't know. But let me go back to what happened when little John said she didn't even know me. It really like it's emotional for me because, again, this situation is something that is it hits at the heart of something much, much bigger than the day-to-day interaction that a child is having with a teacher. And I want you to stay with me here, and I want you in the chat, I want you to stick with me on this topic because I'm going to go a little deep. And so I want you to stay with me on this, okay? Because when I started thinking about this, and when I started thinking about what he said, that she didn't know me, this is a big deal. It's much bigger than I think people realize. It's a bigger deal because a year ago, or a little over a year ago, when they really started pushing this, and they started, pushing the face coverings, and I was coming out against it, and really very passionate about it. People gave me pushback and said, "Oh, it's just a mask," and I think that a lot of you now see more clearly why I was so against it. I hope you see. But one of the things that I said, and that has become more and more clear to me, and I think that one of the things that a lot of you are starting to understand is that there's a much more sinister and evil agenda behind what is happening and what they're doing to our children in this process. And a lot of the people who are perpetuating it are unwittingly going along with it, and they're not willing to take a stand. They're not willing to fight on behalf of the children. But the reason that this is so big and that it's so deep is because you and I and these children, we are image bearers of God. We are made in his image. And when you hear God referenced throughout the scriptures, a lot of times the reference is to his face. And for example, there's a blessing in Numbers 6 that a lot of people are familiar with. It goes like this. It says, I'll read it to you. It says, "May the Lord bless you and keep you. The Lord make his face to shine upon you and be gracious to you. The Lord lift up his countenance upon you and give you peace." And and so think about that. It's the very face of God turned toward you that gives you peace. That's the blessing. It's not even it's not the touch. It's not just the eyes. It's the very face of God. And it's that he turned his face toward you. And one of the things that we're dealing with here is we're dealing with a very deep, deep level of evil. And when it comes to the formation of children, of their identity, of their personalities, of their self-esteem, all of these things, so much of it has to do with knowing and being known, and especially as a child. And so the reason that this specific statement by this child had such an impact on me, and I think so many of you, even if you can't articulate it, is that after almost a year in the classroom, his teacher did not know him. Think about that. And again, these are the formative years. These are years when children are developing their personalities, they're developing their characters, they're becoming, they're developing traits and characteristics that will be with them their whole lives. And so when you see that, when you understand what that little boy said, it should grieve you at a very deep level, because the agenda that is taking place right now, it has nothing to do with public safety, and it has everything to do with quenching the Spirit of God, with literally just snuffing out the life of mankind. And one of the things that we know about socialist Marxist ideology, and that is that it is a collectivist mentality. It is a collectivist ideology. What does that mean? It means that there is no individuality. And so if you think about this, you look around a classroom and you see a sea of little faces that are covered. And you have a teacher out in public who sees one of her students, one of probably about 25 children. And out of those 25, she doesn't know him. She doesn't know that it's her student. I'm going to submit to you that that is by design, because in that ideology, it's a godless ideology. They want nothing to do with God. They want nothing to do with a child being made in the image of God. We already know that in the abortion industry. We know that they don't value life. And so this is just another level of completely snuffing out the individuality, the life of an individual, the identity of an individual, which is based on the image of God. And so think about that. Think about what the overall agenda is, that you have an entire school of children who, for all intents and purposes, all look alike. So much so that a teacher doesn't recognize one of her children out of about 25 outside of the classroom. That's a serious problem. It's a really serious problem, and it's at the very heart of what communism is. Think about it. When you see pictures of people in communist countries, one of the things that stands out the most is that they're almost all wearing the same clothes, especially in that big faraway country across the sea that has billions of people. Have you ever noticed they're all wearing like those pajama kind of outfits, and they're all wearing masks? Think about that. You don't recognize them. It's not because, they have the same color hair or anything like that. It's because they're just a sea of, faceless people without personalities. That's by design. And you think about what's been happening over the last year, everything that has been done to our children, everything that's been done to our middle class is meant to wipe out completely the individuality, the identity, and to push everybody into a collectivist mindset. For example, you have to wear this for the good of others, right? It has nothing to do with you. It's not about what you want. You're being selfish if you want to breathe air. And so I know this is a heavy topic, and but I think I want people to understand this because this is at the very heart of what is going on here. And this is why we have to fight this. This is why we can't sit by and say, oh, it's just till the end of the school year. Oh, they're going to give it back next year. Oh, they'll let them, show their faces during summer school or whatever. No, no, it has to stop. It has to stop now. And I want to read you another verse because this is something that's essential to the scriptures. And this is from 2 Corinthians 3:18. Just going to read it to you. This is it says so where the Lord, now the Lord is spirit, and where the spirit of the Lord is, there is freedom. And we who with unveiled faces all reflect the glory of the Lord are being transformed into his image with intensifying glory, which comes from the Lord who is spirit, who is the spirit. And it's essential that we understand that, because where the spirit of the Lord is, there is freedom. And what is happening to the people who are trying to assert their freedoms, who are trying to regain their freedoms? They're being manipulated and gaslit into thinking that they're the ones who are selfish. Well, the Bible itself tells us that that's what we're designed for. And that when we are operating and moving in the Spirit of God, that we are actually at the height of freedom. And so this is not a man-made idea. Freedom is not a man-made concept. This is something that is actually put in us by design, by God. And so we are meant to walk and move in that freedom. And so when you cover up a child and when you conceal his identity to the point that even his own teacher doesn't know him, that's a problem. And that's a much bigger problem than whether people are comfortable or not. I mean, not even this is so far beyond the hygiene aspect of it that I can't even go there right now. This is so much deeper. And that was really put into my spirit today. And so we are in a fight. We're in a fight, I think, that's much bigger than a lot of people realize. And so, you can choose to be sad about it, but you can also choose to do something about it. And as a parent, I'm going to tell you that it's time to step up. And if you're a teacher, and if you're in the profession, I'm just going to challenge you to step out and take a stand and put your foot down and say, this is abuse. I mean, I don't think I would have survived the year as a teacher unless I could have gotten people to join in with me. I mean, I probably would have been fired, because there's no way that I would tolerate what they're doing to these children, and much less the teachers. I mean, it's unhealthy for everybody. Why did little John's teacher sit there at the desk with the mask down? Because she can't breathe. Everybody knows that. The teachers pull the mask down to yell at the kids. It's just utter and complete and total hypocrisy. And they're still doing it. And, the people that run the Centers for Disease Creation, the fact that they went so far as to say that children should actually keep the thing on because they haven't been vaccinated, don't even get me into that conversation, because there's no way on God's green earth that they should ever be forced to take that thing. You know, I feel like we're back in the dark ages where they literally used children as um like what do you call it? Chattel. You know, they not even the dark ages, back during the gold rush in Colorado. If you go to Colorado and you go into the mines, you'll find out that the way that they tested for oxygen in the mines, or the way that they set explosives and the way that they got explosives into small spaces, is that they would send children in there, and the children wouldn't always come out because the fuse would go off. So they literally sacrifice children in the mines. I don't know if you know that. If you're from Colorado, you probably do. That's one of those places. I don't even like to go to Colorado because the blood of the children is it's just crying out from the soil. I'm just sensitive that way. But right now, I want to tell you that our children and the identity that they are is crying out and screaming to be heard. And so, if we allow this to continue, we are actually going from one crisis, which is abortion, to another one that is a much more subtle but incredibly, extremely damaging thing that is being done to these children. And I know that God can turn this around. I know that there can be redemption and healing instantly for the type of PTSD that's taking place. However, that doesn't excuse us from fighting it. And so this is, like I said, this is serious. It's a serious conversation, but it really had to be had. And I want people to understand this. If you're a parent, if this is happening to your kid, if you're a teacher, if you're in administration, you got to stop this. This is not about children complying and learning how to follow directions and learning how to be unselfish. It's the furthest thing from any of that. This is stealing and robbing them of their God-given identity, of the very breath of life that God put into them and created them to have. And so it absolutely has to stop. And we need to see it stop today. I mean, I don't know what else to say, but if you haven't seen the video, please go and watch it. I purposely stopped the chat so I wouldn't be able to see the chat while I was talking because I didn't want to get distracted. But let me go read it now. Yeah, and I'll tell you something, guys. If you're living in a state where you have somebody that is refusing to, undo the mandate or whatever, you can't wait for them. Just stop. I mean, our governor mandated it a year ago. I never once complied. If more people did that, it would just stop. I mean, here's the thing. Our governor lifted it last week after the CDC, and people are still doing it. I go to the store and, we're at the grocery store and the girl behind the counter still won't pull down the mask to talk to my dad, even though he can't hear a word she says because he's hearing impaired. And she thinks she's going to get in trouble for taking it down. Still, and our governor, our mandate has nothing to do with whether you've had the juice or not. It's, he just said everybody can stop wearing it. Doesn't seem to matter. So, okay, let me just look at, I'm going to look at your chat. No wonder Lemonhead was wearing PJ bottoms. Yeah, I mean, we need a complete and total transformation in education. I mean, these people that are teaching, especially the unions, I don't know what to say. And they're starting to do that in my county. and we need to pray. There is a sermon or 3 in there, that's for sure, yeah. I don't even feel like I got the tip of the iceberg here. Um, my 11-year-old grandson is suffering so much with this online school nonsense. He's failing, and we need to repeat the 5th grade. You know, uh, Michelle actually took her kids out of the county online school and put them in an online homeschooling plan, and her kids are so much happier. They're not dealing with all the nonsense. Um, ask me about it in Telegram, and I'll get the information from her. Mary Grace Media Official is my Telegram. Okay. Yeah. Um, yeah. Ask me about it. Her boys are doing so much better in their. It's not online school from the school district. It's completely different system. Okay. Yeah. Okay. Julia, you thought they used birds to go into the mines? Not always. No. No, they actually use children to go into the mines in Colorado. Yeah, they did. They used the children to put to go into the small spaces that because they were trying to open up tunnels to yeah, they use the birds for the air, but they use the children to go into the smaller spaces to, like, plant the explosives. That's what they did. Yeah. Um, oh, Tom, you have a master's in reading? Yeah. Yeah, I saw the writing on the wall. You know what really clinched it for me was when Kwanzaa came in. I was like and they started talking about diversity. I was like, "This is not diversity." I mean, I've traveled all over the world. I know diversity. Kwanzaa is not diversity. Okay. Uh, yeah, I Colorado, I know some of you live in Colorado and you love it, but for those who are spiritually sensitive, um, Colorado is an incredibly hard place to be. Who agrees with me? Those of you who have been to Colorado. I I've been to Colorado several times, but I can't stand it. I just I can't handle it. It's too hard. It's too hard for me to be there. Yeah. So you have hearing loss, you read lips. Okay. Let me just I'm getting through the chat. Okay. Do I know of any good Christian based homeschool programs? So, yeah, send me an email because Michelle has her kids in one that they really like. Uh, mandates aren't laws. Yeah. K-12. We need oh, Michelle's here. Okay, Michelle, K-12 Online Academy. Is that the name of it, Michelle? Okay. Yeah. Hey, Dan, I did a whole episode on the question that you're asking, and I'm going to refer you back to that. I can't remember which one it was. If anybody remembers it, but you missed the part where I was asking. I'm talking on Facebook. Can you remove his name from your question? We're not using those names anymore because my channel is being so suppressed. So we're working on a new strategy. I don't mind you asking the question at all, but can you just change the name? We're using Real 45 now. I appreciate it. I think you can edit your question. Uh, okay, this is really funny. I'm going to read Charlene's question. I had a friend who was asked to put on a mask when entering a store. He said no. The girl asked if he was vaccinated. He said no. Are you up to date on your annual pap smear? Since we're asking private health questions, she shut up. That's really good. I like that. Um, okay. I homeschool my kids. Soon will homeschool a son of a friend because he's so far behind. I've been bullied because of the mask. Yeah, I mean, we need to help that. Oh, Linda, thank you. Yes, we need to thumbs up. We need to do the thumbs up and make sure that you share this broadcast everywhere. Now, listen, let me tell you something as a teacher, okay? If your child is behind a year, especially in elementary, grandparents, parents, it's okay. It really is. It is not a massive loss, okay? And I know that from being a teacher. It's not the end of the world, especially given everything that's happened. Okay. So get them into a good online academy. It doesn't have to be the state sponsored government school. Okay. Get them into an online academy. Just, the best thing you can do to your kids, grandkids, is read to them, read out loud, get really good classic. Go find all the Newbery award winning books that were written up through the 90s before everything got unbelievably woke. And you can also get classics for kids. You can get Shakespeare for kids. You can get recorded books. I'm deviating here because I've been talking about kids, but one of the very best things you can do is read to your kids and grandkids. Do not put them in front of the idiot box. That's not the same as reading. And whatever you do, do not put them in front of Sesame Street. That is not teaching. That's propaganda. That's brainwashing. Read to your kids. Get books on tape and let your kids be read to. One of the things, especially if you have a bright child, is that they will always be able to comprehend far above their reading ability. And so it's important that you get books to read to them that are, even a couple of years above their actual reading ability. There's a lot that I could do about this. I could do a whole segment on teaching your kids, but your kids are not left behind if you will take the time to read to them from a variety of topics, play games with them, teach them how to use logic, take them out shopping and teach them how to pay for things and figure out how much things cost, teach them unit pricing. There's so much that you can teach them without having them set foot in a school, especially at the age of 10 years old. It's not all lost, believe me. And having a child miss a grade at that age, it's really no big deal. Okay. When I was teaching, especially in kindergarten, I actually recommended, especially with boys, that they stay another year in kindergarten because of the maturity level. So, just relax. It'll be okay. And God can make up for this lost time, right? He restores the years that the locust has eaten. So don't despair. Um, of this, okay? Just use it as an opportunity. God is bringing silver linings out of everything. And, when you find a good online academy, Michelle just said her kids are special needs. We were able to mainstream them to regular classes with additional help in math and reading. They have current IEPs. The teachers are great. So that's the what is it again, Michelle? K-12 online academy. And it's really affordable too, isn't it? And they actually, I think she said that they actually have campuses where they can go, to meet other kids too. So it's not all completely online, at least in her state. So definitely look into that. All right. Okay. Oh, this is good. Somebody on YouTube said, I just got back from Whole Foods. I saw only 2 people without masks. I was one of them. Nobody said anything to me. I lived under communism and know exactly what they're doing to us. I refuse to comply. Exactly. Did they lift the mandate? I haven't even been there. Okay, let me get through your Deborah on YouTube says, I felt that way when I visited Salt Lake City, Utah, heavy spiritual darkness. Yeah, I agree. Germany is like Colorado as far as spiritual atmosphere. Yeah. Oh gosh, I'm so far behind on comments. Online public school for most states applied. Okay, free, not private. Oh, interesting. Okay. Um, okay. So remember, when you're tempted to use the T word on my feed, we're using real 45. I almost said it myself. We're using real 45. Okay. Let me see what else here. Uh, okay, she said we've added unplugged days to our house and family game night. Yeah, that's Michelle said that family game night is has been really a huge hit with her kids. It's not that complicated, you guys. Yeah, kids absolutely love being read to. I remember one of the teachers that had the most impact on me in my whole life was my 4th grade teacher, Mrs. White. And you know what? She was my math teacher, and she read to us at the end of every class. And she had one of the biggest impact on me as a child. I was in the 3rd grade, but I went to the 4th grade math, and she read to us. I think she also prayed for me. Um, I didn't know it until years later, but I'm pretty sure she did. And so, yeah, if people understood the power of reading to your kids and what that can do for their education, everybody would be reading to their children from the moment of conception. I'm not kidding. It's the most powerful thing um, that you can do. Okay. So don't underestimate that. Even though you feel like you've lost a year, you haven't. Okay. Just read to them, and read to them even when you think they're not listening. They're listening. They're picking it up. When they're in the bathtub, when they're playing with their Legos, when they're doing other things, uh, they are. They're listening, believe me. I mean, I'll have to tell you the story about my nephew and how he learned to cook without even my sister knowing it. Remind me one day, I'll tell you that story. She wrote a blog post about it. She's like, how that time I accidentally taught my son to cook. They're paying attention more than you realize. Okay. So uh and Michelle said it's not too late to start reading more. My boys read on their own and we read to them now. Yeah. Yeah, it's amazing what happens when you start doing that. Okay, so listen, it's almost 7 o'clock here. I've got to sign off. I'm going to be back on tomorrow at I'm going to be back on tomorrow at 5:30 Eastern, and hopefully we won't have all those interruptions. That was a little bit crazy the way everything started. I still have no idea what that loud crash was at the beginning of my show. Some of you guys heard it, and I have no idea what it was, but I know that it involved Barley the cat somehow. Surprise, surprise. Okay. So don't forget to email me to get your superfoods voucher so that you can save over $100 off of your ultimate lifestyle transformation. That's a whole 30-day reset. Some people do 90 days of reset. Some people just do maintenance, but everybody needs to take control of their health. This is one of the things that we have to take control of because nobody is going to do it for you. And the big pharma, big ag, they're doing things to your food that you don't even want to know. So take control of it. Get non-GMO organic green superfoods delivered to your door. Okay. And yeah, do it. Info@marygracemedia.com. Info@marygracemedia.com. Get your superfoods promo code. All right. I just want to see the good comments. Tonight at 7, Pastor Jack Hibbs of Calvary Chapel will be live with Amir Safari. Will be live with a Middle East update. Oh, okay. Okay. Real Jack Hibbs. Thank you, Vicky. Okay. I read classic books to my boys. Yeah. Those classic books are the best. I'll tell you who's one of the best writers for kids from that era of the real Newbery Prize winners was Scott Odell. His books are fantastic. He wrote The Island of the Blue Dolphins, and he was one of the best writers who wrote from the point of view of a girl. I've never known a male writer to be able to write from a female point of view the way that Scott Odell did. Look up his books. Really, really good. There's a book that he wrote about the westward expansion with Lewis and Clark. It's called Streams to the River, River to the Sea. Totally recommend it. You could read it for yourself. All of his books are fantastic. All of those Newbery winners from that era, um, that was when they had real classic young adult literature. I recommend all of it. So good. Okay, don't get me started on that. I could do a whole show on that. Now, um, remind me so that I can tell you the story about my nephew accidentally learning how to cook. Okay, I'll be back tomorrow at what time? 5:30 Eastern. Okay. Everybody have a great day, and it was wonderful interacting with you. Thank you to all of my helpers and all of my mediators and to all of the whatever you call it, moderators, and all of the conversation. Thank you, everybody. I appreciate it. Okay, have a great evening, everybody.